Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Honest HR Nitrous. I am Bill, the company's expert. Thank you for being here today. I hope that you will find this helpful and informative. This is the couple of times weekly live stream that I do where we talk about HR, where we talk about getting a job, job search, but more in a gritty kind of way, the reality, not the theory, but what actually happens out in the real world. Warts and all, incompetence, rudeness, unprofessionalism, all the rest of it. Welcome. This is where we really confront this stuff. Thank you to my YouTube channel members. You guys are awesome. My Patreons, my super thanks donors, and of course to my participants. You're the reason I'm here. And of course, I know what you're all thinking. I do have the best hair on YouTube, and I'm here to prove it. So you're correct. Way to go. That way we start off on a good note. The title of this episode is called Struggling to Find a Job. Let's fix that. That's what we're going to do. So this is an interactive live stream. That means if you're seeing my beautiful face, get in the chat box. There should be a chat box nearby that you see. If you are a subscriber to my channel, you should be able to type in your question or your comment, and you can let me know what you're wondering about, what you're struggling with, and what you're dealing with, and I will do my best to try and help you out. I really don't have any kind of agenda or plan as to what I'm going to say. This is all kind of just off the cuff, so I'm relying on your comments to drive this forward. But let's get into this. You know, if you are struggling to find a job right now, you are not alone. This process, shall we say, is extremely trying. And you know, there's different worlds involved for different people here. If you are an introvert or you're a technical type person, where you're not really a very super social type person, you may be struggling a little bit with some aspects of how this process works. But I've got great news for you, and that is that it really isn't as intimidating as it seems. There's easy ways to do everything that people are always telling you, you know, the things you should do. There's a lot of easy ways of doing that. I'm just looking at my screen because I'm getting some pretty weird things going on the side here. Yeah. So, yes, get in the chat. Let me know. You know, there's a couple of different things here. Now, just to expand on that, there's the whole world of recruiters and posted jobs. That's definitely a thing, okay? And God knows there's enough people talking about that, and there's enough resources out there to help you with that kind of thing. If you are looking at posted jobs, so you go on the internet, most likely, and you are doing searches on the internet, you're finding jobs that have been posted publicly, and you are responding to those job postings with your application, okay? It usually involves a resume, possibly a cover letter, possibly other things. You know, that's a whole thing, okay? Now, what many people don't realize, or certain people don't realize, is that that is not the most common way of finding a job, by far. And as always, you know, if ever I say something that's kind of a surprise to you, I encourage you not to take my word for it, but to go out and do your own research and validate it, okay? You'll soon see that this is actually the case. Now, of all the jobs that are actually out there, only about 20% or so are actually posted, okay? So if you go online and you look for jobs that are posted in your industry and in your geographic region, you are going to come up with a whole bunch of jobs that you'll see. That is 20% of all the jobs that are actually out there, okay? There's another 80% beyond those ones that you see that are not actually posted. Those are called hidden jobs. And that's where the job actually does exist. But the problem is that they're not posted publicly. So the jobs are there and you can get them, but you can't find them by simply doing a search publicly, okay, just by looking at job postings, because the job postings do not exist, okay? Now, you might be confused by this if you've never heard of this before. You might be thinking, what the hell? Why would someone have a job but not post it publicly? Okay? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons. And if you think back to your own experiences, or maybe the experiences of close friends or family members, you will see examples of this. It's where, first of all, they had no trouble in finding candidates to fill those jobs. So it wasn't a situation where they looked for people and they just couldn't find anyone. So they had to decide to post it publicly to get strangers to apply for it, right? Jobs that are in high demand, jobs where they have a lot of obvious candidates for, they never post those, okay? Because it doesn't make sense to post them. Because I'm sure a lot of job seekers don't care about this, but to post a job, it's actually quite expensive and quite labor intensive. And it's very laborious. There's a lot of stuff you got to do. You got to go through rounds and rounds of job interviews. You've got to filter through hundreds of resumes. A lot of resumes you get are people that are just totally not qualified. They don't have any of the qualifications that were stated that, you had to have, things like this. So it's a thing that you want to avoid if you can. Okay. Now you combine that with the fact that I'm sure a lot more people out there that are watching this, you are aware that sometimes they hire internally. So they have their own internal candidate that is a contender for a job they've posted, right? But maybe they're also looking publicly to see if there's any external candidates that, would be contenders for it. Sometimes, unfortunately, you do get a situation where they have the appearance of looking publicly, but they're not really considering external candidates. It's kind of more of a closed thing. But the point I'm trying to make is that that sometimes they have internal candidates lined up for stuff, right? Okay, well, that's the thing. There's two different worlds there. If you're an external candidate, you're an unknown quantity. They don't trust anything you say. For all they know, you could be an axe murderer or a criminal or, whatever. You could have falsified every single thing on your resume. For the internal candidate, they get different treatment, right? Because they are a known quantity. The hiring manager may have worked with this person for years, so they already know who they are. They already trust that person. They already, when that person says things about themselves, like, I have this or I have a passion to do this, they're believed more, right? They get different treatment because they're on the inside, right? Well, that's the magic of hidden jobs. Hidden jobs is that you can position yourself as essentially a internal candidate. That's the beauty of this, okay? Anyway, so there's a couple of different worlds there. So there's hidden jobs are a thing, and not a lot of people know about this. I mean, obviously many, many people do, but a lot of young people that, unless you've been specifically told about this, you might be unaware of it. How do you get hidden jobs? There's a couple of ways. Number one is networking. Number two are referrals. Number three are reaching out, specific targeted outreach, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's got a specific name. But this is the method that I highly encourage everyone to do, okay? Number one, you will actually be putting yourself forward for the other 80% of the jobs that are out there, okay? You can actually target those. Number two, when you're targeting those, there's substantially less competition, okay? If you are competing for a posted job, many job seekers are also competing for those posted jobs. That 20% of the jobs that are posted, something like 80% of all the candidates are competing for those jobs. So it's very stiff competition. When hundreds of candidates apply for a job, it's difficult to elevate yourself above the crowd. Now, you can play that game. There's a lot of resources out there to help you play that game, how to tailor your resume just right and how to do job interviews with recruiters and things. I'm not knocking it. I talk about that stuff too. But, the fundamental problem is that you're going in with a lot of competitors. And so even to get an interview, it's quite tough because the competition is so stiff, right? The beautiful thing about targeting hidden jobs is that you have hardly any competition. You might have one or two other candidates possibly that they're considering other than you. And that's it, So that's one of the advantages of hidden jobs. It's a bit less intuitive, especially for younger people that have never been introduced to this. But this is so common. When people have a vacancy in their department, do they always rush to post it publicly? No, they first ask internally. Sometimes they don't even have to ask. As soon as coworkers learn that there's a vacancy, they go talk to the boss and they say, hey, I've got a brother or a cousin or a friend that would be perfect for this. I'm vouching for them. I'm telling you, they would be good for this. Now, you trust me. We've been working together, for a few years, and that I'm not lying to you. I'm personally staking my reputation with you on recommending them. I'm telling you they're good. So for an interview, right? This kind of thing. Now, you may have observed this happen in real life. That happens all the time, right? Now, what if someone like you had already sent a message to the boss and said, hello, my name is X. I do this. I'm really good at it. I solve this type of problem really well. And if ever you're looking for someone who could do that, please let me know, because I would love to work for your company. I know what you guys do. I think it's fantastic. I live nearby and I'd love to work for you. Right? So imagine if that had landed in the boss's lap right during this, where they had realized that, like, okay, I've got to hire another employee for my team or whatever, but they haven't begun a search yet. Imagine if that message landed somewhere around there, right? Well, they'd probably look at you first. They'd say, wait a minute, actually, I do kind of need someone who can do that, and that's what I need to procure. So, maybe let's talk. Let's send me your resume or something, or let's have a phone call, or let's meet for coffee or something, right? That's how the hidden job market works. That's how you can get in there. Now, just so everybody knows, my screen is kind of going haywire here. I really, really don't like this software. I'm using Streamlabs OBS. It says there are 0 viewers, which I don't think is accurate. And I don't see anybody, any comments or anything in the chat. I'm just going to go live to my actual YouTube channel and just see if there is people in the chat, because I suspect that maybe there are people. It's okay. Live, it says there's 19 people watching, so that's good. Oh, I get the compulsory ads, of course, as my computer slows down. Okay, here we go. So that's okay. Now I see the first thing. It says Mehmet. Mehmet says, "Hi, Bill. How are you?" I'm doing fine, Mehmet. Thank you for being here. If you have a question about hiring or any of this kind of stuff, let me know. Now, where am I going with this? This whole discussion of like hidden jobs and stuff. Okay. First of all, here's what I would say. Here's some advice I would give to people. If you've never heard of the hidden job market, or you have heard about it but you don't know what it is, it seems kind of weird, and just the word hidden suggests like there's some kind of nefarious, slimy kind of thing. First of all, it's not. And I wholeheartedly encourage you to do your own research into it, learn about it. Don't just learn about it from one source. I don't know, go to ChatGPT, go to Google, go, learn about this, learn how you get those type of jobs, okay? Ray says, we're here. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. It gives me a little bit more confidence. It still says 0 viewers on my little, my readout here. This is, as I said, Streamlabs OBS, everybody. I do not recommend it for anything. It continually lets me down. And as soon as I develop the willpower, I'm going to replace it with something else that works a little better. Normally on Mondays, I use StreamYard to do collaboration. So I have a collaborative live stream on Mondays. Incidentally, one of the things I was going to mention, if you are looking for a job and it's not going anywhere fast, you've been looking for a while and you're starting to suspect, geez, am I doing something wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Like, what's the problem? I would recommend, now I got this advice from other people and it rings true to me. something that can help just to do a sanity check and make sure that there's not something you're doing that's wrong or bad or weird or anything like that, incorrect, is book one session with a career coach. Okay, like just one session. You don't have to break the bank to do this. I don't know if some people even offer free sessions. I'm not sure. But I mean, I don't offer those services myself. I have no conflict of interest here. Now, I do a collaboration usually every Monday or every second Monday with another YouTuber called Abby from the YouTube channel Life Work Balance. And she is a career coach. She offers those services. So you can check out her stuff if you're interested in that. Even just one session, just for someone to work with you, do like a pretend job interview with you, give your resume a once over, give your cover letter type deal a once over. You can explain the strategy you're using, or where you're looking for jobs and how you're applying, and they can sort of give you some feedback. So it might be an idea to do that kind of thing, just if you suspect that maybe there's something that you're doing that's wrong, it's leading to you not getting any results. That's something you can always do. Okay, so that's one thing. Sam Fisher is here. Sam says, "Hi, Bill. I've been watching your videos on how to pass a job interview, and I'm still practicing and kind of struggling. So if you don't mind, can you please help me?" Well, what do you need help with, Sam? This is basically what I'd recommend as a blanket approach to learning to do well in job interviews. First of all, if you're going to use sort of my stuff, okay, my recommendations, I have a playlist called Get Hired. And it's pretty simple, because if you go to my YouTube channel, like you go to my actual page for my YouTube channel, where it has all my videos on it, the homepage, it's featured very prominently. It's a playlist called Get Hired, and I have several videos in a series, and they each tell you how to answer, one of the job interview questions that are standard, like tell me about yourself, what are your salary expectations, why should we hire you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Why do you leave your last job? How do you handle stress? Do you have any questions for us? Things like that. So step one that I would recommend for people to get good at doing job interviews is go and work on your own and memorize the answers to those common questions. Okay, that's kind of the first step, right? So, you watch a bunch of videos or you read a bunch of articles or whatever you do. Learn the answers to those questions, okay? The recommended answers. Naturally, I would prefer that you use my recommended answers, but, I'm not being arrogant about this. Different strokes for different folks. Learn what those answers are, memorize them, okay? That's step one. Then, step two is you work with somebody else. So a friend or a family member, whoever is available. If you live in a home with other people, maybe you have a significant other, maybe you have parents, siblings, maybe you're in kind of a dorm type thing or an apartment kind of thing. You got friends around. Grab somebody, some poor dumb bastard that's just loafing around. Grab them and say, "Hey, I need you to give me a hand. Okay, I am trying to practice my ability to do a job interview. Okay, so you're going to help me. You're going to pretend to be the job interviewer, and you're going to ask me some questions, and we're going to treat this like it was a real job interview. It's like a pretend job interview. We're going to pretend it's real. You ask me questions, and I'm going to try and answer them as if this was a real job interview." Okay, I call it mock interviews, right? Now, you can give them a list of questions, or they can come up with their own questions. Either's fine. But do mock interviews, okay? Don't just do one, do a bunch. So over, say, 2 weeks, try and do 2 or 3 of these a day if you can, right? Maybe even with different people. If someone does one with you, say, "Great, thank you for your time. That's wonderful." Grab some other poor dumb bastard that's doing nothing with their life. They're loafing around. They're annoying the crap out of you. Get them to help you with this. Get them to pretend to be the interviewer and have them ask you questions, and you treat this like a job interview and practice your answers. You should be able to remember the answers And you should be able to push through however weird and awkward and nervous you might be feeling, right? And still do a great job, right? Now, you're not going to be able to do this in first shot out of the gate. Usually it takes a bit of practice, right? But after your 30th interview, I can guarantee, when they ask you questions like, tell me about yourself and why do you want to work here and what's your greatest weakness, you'll know the answers backwards, forwards. You'll be able to say them with confidence without any hesitation. If they ask you for examples, you'll have the examples right there. You'll know your stuff, frontwards, backwards. So you'll be prepared. And then when you go down to an actual job interview, okay, you'll knock it out of the park. You'll do very well. And, they always will throw some kind of weird new question at you. You can just expect that. They're going to come up with some weird thing you've never heard before. Have like fallback answers. Usually a good fallback answer is you talk about the requirements that they said they were looking for in the job posting, right? They said, we're looking for someone with this, 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 and this. So you say, well, I have this, and that's like a big deal. That's kind of a fallback answer, right? As you reiterate how you have these things that they're looking for as a general blanket sort of thing for anything that they could ask. Stuff like that. The more practice makes perfect. So the more of these you do, the better you get. And then the more actual job interviews you go to, the more you'll see like how it's always kind of the same. It always goes the same way, more or less. And that's what'll give you confidence because you've been around the farm a few times. You know how this goes. You've done a whole bunch of these. So you feel confident because, just that repetition, right? So that's the process. So to summarize, step 1, memorize the answers to the important questions. That's something you can do by yourself. Step 2, grab somebody else, friend or family member, whatever, get them to do mock interviews with you. So this is practice. And if it feels weird, that's good. That simulates what an actual interview might feel like. You're going to be a little nervous, okay? But you still kick ass. Then you just leave it to experience. As you go to more and more job interviews, the confidence will come naturally, okay? And you'll be just fine. So that, in a nutshell, that's what I recommend. My screen is blanking out and going weird again. So hopefully that helps, Sam. That's kind of just like a sort of general approach. If you have specific questions, let me know. Mehmet says, what would be the 3 questions you would ask to a CEO if you were a job seeker or a potential employee? Okay, well, I would ask a CEO about something that the CEO knows, and the CEO knows the industry and the business, and they know the broad strokes. They know what what they should be doing, at least some of the time, is thinking about the big picture and thinking about broad timescales, like 5 years in advance, maybe even further out. So to that end, I would say, like, what changes or challenges do you see coming down the pike for this industry in the future? How is this industry going to change? What skills might be required as we go forward, in this industry? Are there going to be any new tools or technology that will directly impact us, say in the next 1 to 2 years or the next 5 to 10 years, in your opinion? Things like this. Those are CEO type questions. And are those like super applicable to your job? Not directly. Like indirectly, those questions are relevant, but the CEO will like the cut of your jib if you ask questions like that, because that's what they care about and that's what they concern themselves with. That's what their job is. And, they'll like where your head's at. They'll come away thinking, this is a candidate that's conscious of the future. They're conscious of how to keep themselves relevant, as we go. They're conscious of where the industry is going to go, and it might twist and turn. It might not always be the same as it is today. It might kind of change a bit, and they're tuned into that. They're aware that that's likely going to happen, and they're probably going to handle it very well. So that's the kind of employee that, I think is future proof, that will be an asset to us as we go into the future. We don't want to hire someone that they're going to be obsolete. They got skills now, but as things change, they don't update their skills and they resist change. So like it would be questions of that nature that I would ask like an owner or CEO, something like that. Gerald says, I had an interview at the end of last month. It went well. Good. They hinted I was overqualified. I got a form rejection letter this afternoon. I'm sorry to hear that, Gerald. Listen, you are not alone. That's quite typical. Okay. So it's not like you're no good or, anything like that. That's quite a standard thing. Okay. Now, I did a video that was kind of semi-popular about a month ago, talking about the term overqualified. Okay. Technically, overqualified is BS. There's no such thing as being overqualified. Like, is anyone going to say, I don't like you. You're not a good employee. You do your job too well for me. Like that's BS, right? So they use the term overqualified when they want to obfuscate the real reason why they're rejecting you. Okay. Now, a common scenario why they would not want to just say outright, they would say, I'm sorry, you're overqualified, this kind of thing. It can also be just a kiss off blanket excuse for anything. Okay. That's the other thing. Like if they're like, okay, I used an extreme example in a video I did a long time ago where I said, the boss, it turns out the hiring manager happens to be a fan of a certain sports team, and you volunteered in the interview that you're a big fan of the opposing sports team. There's a bit of a rivalry there. They might have rejected you simply for that reason. They said, like, I don't know, would I want to work with that person on a day-to-day basis? I don't know. It would just kind of bug me how they're a fan of these people and I'm a fan of these people. It's a big deal to me. But they don't want to admit that. So it comes back, oh, I'm sorry, we've decided to move on. You're good, but you're overqualified, right? So that's the problem. You'll never, ever really know what were their thought processes when they decided to reject you, okay? And usually their thought processes are either out to lunch or they're not paying attention to anything that matters. They're illogical, I guess that's kind of one and the same. So don't sweat it, Gerald. It might have been a lucky escape. That's how these things work a lot of the time. It's random chance. This didn't work out. Next roll of the dice, it will work out, and it'll probably be with a bunch of people that actually see your value a bit better, okay? A bit clearer. Gerald says, landing interviews, but no success yet. Okay. That's normal, okay? Usually, you have to do many interviews before you get a bite. Like that's just how it goes. But I just want to reiterate, if you suspect that like, okay, maybe there's something wrong with how I'm doing my interviews, maybe I'm doing something wrong, or I'm saying the wrong thing, or like something I'm just not aware of. Like it's just under the radar, but it's hurting me. And if you're concerned about that, the fix for that is, like I said at the beginning of the stream, is maybe consider doing like one session with a career coach. Because just having somebody that can sort of like give you an objective opinion, they do a pretend interview with you, and then they look at your resume and they look at your references and they look at, your cover letter and they ask you questions and they get a feel for how you're interviewing, and they can maybe give you some objective feedback. Sometimes it might be, it's not super fun because they're telling you, or you should change this and you really shouldn't say that, but that can really help getting that objective critique, just to make sure that like there's no red flags that you're doing in your interviews. Okay. So I don't provide that service. I mean, I don't do that, but other people do. So look into that. If you suspect, like if you've taken like 50 interviews and it really seemed like it was going places on several occasions and it just always never did, maybe it might be something worth doing. Not that you necessarily have to work with a career coach long term, but just like doing one session with somebody. I wish you the best of luck, Gerald. Mehmet says, I think the struggle to find a job most of the time for fresh graduates, especially as a university education, is not understood to train people for jobs and companies do not want to train them. Well, there's some truth in some of what you said. Companies are less and less inclined to want to train people. That's definitely a thing. Excuse me. That's definitely true. You see, training is expensive, and what they found is that if there's two companies, A and B, A trains people, B doesn't, right? A lot of employees will go to company A, they'll get trained. Now, company A can't pay as much as company B because company A has more expenses. They have training as their training as a big expense, so they have to pay for it. So there's less money available to pay for wages, for example. So they will never be, all things equal, they will never be able to pay as well as company B, who doesn't have to shoulder any training costs, right? So the problem is that if company A trains people, a lot of employees will go to company A, get hired on, get trained, right? Get some experience, and then jump ship and all go and work at company B, who pays better, right? And they can get those jobs at company B because they're already fully trained and they've got some experience, right? So that works out great for company B. Great. Company B is sort of externalizing all their training costs, right? But company A loses. They're the ones doing the right thing. They're wanting to train their employees and, assuming that the employees are going to be there long term and have a long-term relationship with them. They're trying to invest in their employees, but they get the short end of the stick because the employees are acting in their self-interest. So that's what you would do. That's what I would do. You would then, now that you're highly trained, you'd go take a better paying job at company B. So this is a thing. Okay. However, there is a solution to this problem for fresh graduates that most fresh graduates are either not aware of or they're unwilling to do. And that is, you get the job through networking and direct outreach, especially direct outreach. Now, as far as I've been able to tell, this is something that they teach people in school, like across the board. They don't tell you any of this. They may do workshops and stuff on how to do job interviews and how to write a resume, but that's not what this is. Direct outreach is where you ignore job boards and you ignore, the careers section of a company's website where they say if they're hiring or not, right? You ignore that, right? You look at companies, not that are hiring, but you look at companies that you want to work for. So you target the company. You decide what company you approach, right? Then you reach out to them. Okay, so you don't respond to a job posting. This is not about job postings. This is about going to the individuals in the company, right? And basically you're going to, the simplest form is something I've said many times. The simplest form of this is sending a message on LinkedIn or something that says something to the effect of, my name is X, I do this, I'm really good at this is the problem I solve. If ever you're looking for someone that can do that, please let me know because I would love to work for your company. I know that you guys do this and I know that you guys do that. And that's incredibly exciting to me. I also live very close by. I would love to work for you. So if you're ever looking, let me know. Thank you and have a great day, right? Just a basic message like that. Now, the odds are is that if you send that message to 100 people, 100 hiring managers at 100 companies, okay? Chances are that something like over 90 of the 100, they're not hiring right now. They're not hiring for someone like you right now. Okay, that's fine. But 5 of them will be. Sometimes 1 of them will be. but some people are always hiring, right? Now it's simple. If you want to land in the lap of someone who's looking for someone exactly like you to hire, and you know that, okay, I have a 1% response rate, it's very simple. If you want to connect with one opportunity like that, send out 100 messages. Because the odds are one of them is hiring. Now, in my experience, it was something like more like 5%, okay? And that's going to vary by industry and a whole bunch of stuff. But I mean, there's going to be somebody, it's usually more than 1%. 1% is like if everything's stacked against you and there's an economic recession and, a whole bunch of stuff. But, like that's the thing. If people aren't looking to hire right now, then they're not interested. That's fine. You usually don't get a response, and that's great, and that's okay. But for the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the hiring managers that they happen to be looking, they know, like, okay, I've got to hire someone I need to hire another intern, or I need to hire another junior employee, or I need to hire another part-time employee, or I need to hire another full-time employee to replace someone who's retiring, or we're expanding. We have too much work. I can't run the place on overtime anymore. I need to hire another full-time person, right? And it has to be someone like this, right? And you send your message coincidentally, serendipitously, right at that time. That's when they get your message, and you say, hey, I can do this. If ever you're looking, please let me know. And the thing is, what you're doing is you're giving them a free sample of what you're like to deal with. First of all, you're signaling that you actually, honestly, truthfully, are passionate about working for them. Because most people don't do this, right? So the fact that you did do it signals that, like, no, I am specifically interested in working for you. Especially if you said that last bit about, like, I know you guys do this, and I know you guys do this. That's really cool, right? Like, that shows, if you didn't give a rat's ass about anything, I mean, you wouldn't be doing this, right? So this is signaling that you are enthusiastic about working for them specifically. That's one of the things they're looking for. Another thing they're looking for is someone who is a professional person and who has good communication skills. And you are signaling, you are demonstrating both of those by sending this message. If it's riddled with typos and you say all kinds of inappropriate things, then obviously that's not going to work. But if you send a professional message that's very clear, very professional, and it's persuasive, that's a direct sample of your skills, your soft skills, right? So you are also now a cut above being a resume on a desk, because when you receive a resume on the desk, you don't know what that person's like, right? What's that person like to deal with? Well, they sent in a job application. Okay, that's something, I guess, but this is a person that, like, they've sent a message to me, and I want to respond to that message because the message makes sense. It happens to be something that does kind of look like it's going to help me. I am looking for a person, and here's a person. They're offering to help me, right? And I want to respond to them. What does that say about this person? That says they have some good qualities, right? You know what I mean? So, like, there's a lot of things like that going in the background. Like, this is the value of doing this, right? Okay. So the other part of this is that if they then say, actually, hey, that's interesting that you reached out to me. We might have something to talk about. Do you want to schedule a phone call, or do you want to grab a coffee? Something like that. You know what I mean? Then it doesn't feel like a job interview. It feels like they're inviting you in. It feels like a referral. They've asked you to come down and talk to them, right? It's a totally different vibe than a job interview, right? You're not forcing yourself on them. You're just saying, hey, if ever you're looking, please let me know. That's all. No pressure. It's a bit of a different thing, right? So there's a whole bunch of concepts, like principles, that are all just like wrapped up together in this, all simultaneously. Okay. Now I've gotten jobs this way. I've gotten a lot of contract work this way, and I've built a consulting business doing this kind of thing. So I know what I'm talking about. Now I've done a video. If you want to go deeper into this, I can't spend the whole live stream talking about just this, but I've done a video where I actually show you more of the details of how you can do this. It's linked in the description box under this live stream. So in the description, there's a link to a couple of videos I've done. One is called Hidden Job Market. Another one is called How Successful People Get Jobs. So watch that video. That's kind of the guide of how to do this. Now, there's a lot of other things you can do, like networking-wise. If this has kind of piqued your interest, there's a lot of other things. You can get informational interviews. You can do all kinds of other things. You can also reach out and do physical networking, like where you go to events and you meet people and all this kind of stuff. You apply in person. There's all kinds of variations. So if you're interested in learning that stuff, I put it all into this course right here. So check that out. There's a link in the description. That's where all my sort of advice is for how to do job search, like all in one place. So check that out. And I go deeper. The value as I see it is like really in the networking and the direct outreach stuff, all the different variations of what you could do. But I got to get back to questions here. So let's see. So that was, yeah. So this is not taught. Now, coincidentally, this is the type of thing that executives do. Like when you climb the ladder in your career, you start out by talking to recruiters, getting asked dumb questions like, tell me about yourself and, why do you want to work here and all this kind of crap. If someone's being hired on as a divisional vice president, that's not the process they go through. Okay. Like you don't get to talk to some 21-year-old recruiter that doesn't understand anything and they say, so tell me about yourself. And then they evaluate you on how good of a CEO you are or something. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. The way people get jobs at that level is like a super version of this. It's networking. They need to know who you are. They need to know your approach. They need to know your track record of things you've done, and not by you telling them, because they can't verify that. They have to be aware of you from being in the same industry as you, and things like this. So that's where it eventually gets to. So if you're at the entry level, or you're the worker level, you're the professional level, or you're a manager, maybe mid-management level, and you want to move up, this is where you have to sort of tune in to that kind of thing. And even if you're in operations or something, or supply chain, you're not really an extroverted type person, maybe you're more introverted, you're more technical, you need to sort of tack on some of these abilities to reach out to people, because they are very important in being able to do jobs at the high level. You have to be able to reach out to people in other organizations and get on their good side and work with them and propose arrangements and things like this. Anyway, let's come back to Earth here. Let's see. So Mehmet, take the first steps into this world. You'll really benefit. People have asked me, how do I get internships when the competition is so stiff? I followed their procedure where I went in and I sent in my application, but like there's 600 students competing for this. How do I get it? And I would say, well, okay, maybe they received 600 submissions, students who want to be in the internship program. How many people came and talked to the decision maker in person, and while they were there made a good impression because they asked some very intelligent questions? They showed that they were very tuned into it, very committed to it and enthusiastic about it, right? And they seemed to really be on the level of what it was and what it did, and they wanted to learn more about it, which was always a great thing. And they made a great impression on a personal level to the decision maker. How many of those 600 students did that? Oh, one? Who do you think they're going to pick? Now, assuming that student is qualified and they meet the technical qualifications, the tiebreaker was they went and talked to the person. They learned what to say. They asked some very intelligent questions, made a good impression, right? They were easy to deal with. They weren't a jerk, or they weren't out to lunch, or they weren't upset or, anything. That was the tiebreaker. They don't teach you that stuff in school. And I'm a technical introvert, and I had to learn this stuff in my 30s. And that's what really opened doors and stuff for me. So I encourage everyone to, as much as you can learn about this kind of stuff and develop your soft skills, develop your networking skills, it's not this slimy thing that a lot of introverts think it is. It really isn't. It's just asking questions to other people about what they do. And they tell you and you learn. And then they love the fact that you actually seem to be interested in what they think. You know, it's actually a good thing. Mehmet says, direct approach to general managers, hiring managers, or recruiters. No, above, if you can. You go to the highest person you possibly can. Right? Okay, now, you're probably balking at that answer. You're probably thinking, that's ridiculous. Right? That's every young person's response to that, especially if they're an introvert. Let me ask you a question. Who's got the power to hire you? Is it people at the bottom? No. Is it people at the middle? Maybe, sometimes. But they happen to be very busy, usually. People in the middle, right? People at the top, the executive level. First of all, they have the power to hire you on the spot. And what usually happens is they don't actually do that because they're above that. What they can do is they can hand your resume to the director of HR. I've told this story so many times. You know what's powerful? An executive or the CEO handing your resume to the director of HR and saying, look into this person. You think they're going to ignore your resume? You think they're going to give your resume the standard treatment? Absolutely not. Right? The other thing is that, you know, they have the power to hire you. They have the power to say, like, you know, you should contact this person down at the middle, right? You know, they would be the person that might be able to help you with like this and answer more specific questions about that if you're interested in that, right? Now think of you contacting someone in the middle, a middle manager, right? When you say, is this John or whatever? Yes, hi, my name is, Frank. Listen, I was talking to the CEO and they dropped your name. They told me I should get in touch with you as someone who would be able to answer some specific questions on this type of thing. Would it be okay if I ran some questions by you, or something like that, right? You think they're going to ignore you after that? Of course not, right? So the point is you go as high as you possibly can. Now, the other thing that a lot of people that's tied into this, because there's so many principles here, is that a lot of people think that like CEOs are these kind of like weird, otherworldly celebrity type. They're not, we're not talking about Fortune 500 companies here. I was a CEO of a company. Am I untouchable? Absolutely not. You're conversing with me on YouTube, for God's sake. You know what I mean? These people have regular jobs. They're not like celebrities living on the moon or anything. And one of the things they care about is the people that are in their company, whether they have the right attitude and whether they're positioned for the future or not. That's something they care about. They also care about taking unsolicited queries from the public because that's part of their job as executives. People in the middle don't do that. It's people at the top. It's part of their job to take unsolicited queries from the public. That means someone they don't know reaches out to them and says, hi, my name is John. You don't know me, but I have a few questions about this. Would I be able to schedule an interview with you? Would you be able to pick your brain and get your expert opinion on this? Is that okay? Now imagine an executive who said, what? How did you get this number? No, I don't do that. Who are you? Go away, You think business would be good for those people? Of course not. It turns out that could be an institutional customer, that could be a regulator, that could be someone who's proposing a joint venture. You have no idea, right? So if they follow protocol to contact you and they seem very professional and they seem, like it's legit, there's no kind of weird red flags, they'll contact you, they'll take your request. It's just good business. That's what I had to do. That's what every executive has to do, right? Now, if you can't string a sentence together and you say all kinds of inappropriate things, yeah, they'll ignore you, right? But, like this is the thing. Anyway, I could go on forever. But the point is, you don't go to the people at the bottom. You don't go to recruiters. You can go to recruiters, I suppose. A lot of people recommend you go to recruiters. I've never tried going to a recruiter. I don't think there's any point to doing it, but you could try it, I suppose. But what I would recommend is going as high as you could possibly go, preferably to executives. because they will be the ones that it's their job to take your inquiry, to meet with people external to the company that they don't know. And they're also, as an added bonus, generally speaking, heavyweight championships of communication skills. They'll be the most friendly, the most accommodating, the most welcoming, the most polite, all things being equal. There's always exceptions. But I mean, I've met a lot of CEOs and stuff. They're just absolutely fearsome when it comes to like those skills. I've been in awe because I don't have them, you know? So anyway, I used to teach it, for what it's worth, I used to teach a course in university. It was the capstone course for post-secondary business program. And I taught students this. I taught them networking. And their assignment was to do this at the end of the course with CEOs of companies in my hometown, our hometown, and get informational interviews, go and meet with them, get a selfie of them, like shaking their hand or with them for bonus points. And, most students in the class did this. And I was told by some idiot administrator at the beginning of the program when I proposed this, they said, well, that's unrealistic. Give them something realistic. I'm like, it's a lot more realistic than you think. And I'm going to prove it to you. And all the students did. These were 21-year-old students, and they did a fantastic job. They met with all kinds of CEOs of big companies in my hometown. And some of them got hired, because of this. So, it wasn't to get a job. That wasn't the main point. It was just to have an informational interview. But some of them went on to get jobs and stuff. So anyway, listen, this is a lot to unpack. This is a huge topic. That's why I put it into a course. There's so many things you got to cover, for it to make sense. But especially when you're talking to young people that, they might not know a lot of this stuff. So if you want to go deeper, I have my course. I have some videos on my channel. You can check those out. But learn what you can. Learn everything you can about networking and direct outreach, okay? It's a way to tap the hidden job market. The hidden job market has 80% of the jobs that are out there are in the hidden job market. They're not posted. This is how you put yourself forward for those jobs. There's networking, there's direct outreach, and then there's referrals. Those are basically how you tap the hidden job market. And I'm a huge fan of direct outreach because you don't have to know a living soul to do this. You can arrive in a city, you relocate to a city or a new place, you know nobody there, and you can do this. And you can beat out people that are applying through standard channels, going to talk to recruiters and stuff. You change the game. You go around all of that, and the hiring manager picks you because it's almost like you're an internal candidate now. And everyone who applied through standard channels there by sending in resumes, they're external candidates. That's what it feels like. Goomy Worm says alternative to messaging on LinkedIn. Oh, there's all kinds. I mean, for a start, you can network in person. You don't have to even be on social media to do it. Now, I like social media. I like a combination of between Google Maps and LinkedIn. It's such an incredibly powerful set of tools right there. Google Maps will find all the employers in your industry or that would hire someone like you that are around you. Like say within, forget about remote jobs for a moment. Just forget about virtual jobs. Think of commuting to a workplace. Whatever your commute is, half an hour, within a half an hour radius of where you live, you can find all the companies, all the employers that could conceivably hire you, right? And then LinkedIn, now that you have all the company names and you know all the companies and all the employers or the organizations, you can then go on LinkedIn to see inside all of those organizations. You look at them one at a time to the individuals. So here's the owner, here's the CEO, here's all the executives, here's these middle managers, here's other people, right? Not only can you discover them and see their background, but you then have the means to reach out directly to them. And there's several ways of doing everything. Like to reach out, you could either send them an in-mail, which I don't recommend, or you could request they accept your connection request, which is what I do recommend, and go that way, so that the only people that end up connecting with you are the ones that are there and that are open to talking to outside people. And then you go further with them, and then you could send them messages, right? And you don't have to. There's no quota or anything. You could just talk to them, right? And set up, ideally, like you either just send a message or you could schedule an informational interview. There's all kinds of things you can do, right? But forget about the social media. Forget about the internet. You can go to industry events. You can go down to trade shows and all kinds of other industry events and do networking face to face with people. A lot of extroverts like to do it that way. You're not sitting at home typing on a phone or on a computer. You're out rubbing shoulders with all the people. Like, for example, if ever you've been to, like, on the very low end, if you've been to like a job fair, you're just coming out of school, you're like a student, or a candidate, you're about to graduate or whatever, you've been to a job fair, you go there with a pile of business cards or a pile of resumes, and you see all the organizations, like, side by side, they've got booths and things, and they got their representatives talk. You could go up and talk to those people, you could exchange business cards, right? You say, hey, can I call you for more information? This kind of stuff. You engage them in conversation about their industry and what they do, and where's this thing going to go in the future, and what are the exciting things that are happening with it. And they end up liking you, and they say, hey, like, you're really kind of tuned into this, and you say, yeah, I try to be. I'm really, my ambition is to work in that area and stuff. And then, because you have met that person, and if they remember you, you can reach out to them, and they could, like, connect you with people inside the company. And like, there's all kinds of stuff. You could get informational interviews. You could go get invited to another kind of, like, networking event or an internal event to the company. They're having a celebration of something, and they bring you in as a guest. And there's all kinds of ways of doing it. So there's many, many options here. It's kind of like the Wild West. There isn't a standard process that some idiot recruiter or anyone is going to say, step 1, step 2. You can make it your own, but you need the knowledge of how things work. And the more you do, the more you learn. And you can cheat by getting my course, for example, that will teach you a lot of it. Mehmet says, if all your subscribers joined in your channel for $50, you would make around $2K a month. Yeah, if that happened. But as you can tell, how many people are here in this? How many people are watching this live stream? What? I don't know, because my screen just went blank again. Oh, God. I can't even center my camera. It accidentally grabs my camera. Here, hold on. There we go. Okay. It still says 0 viewers for me. But the last time I checked, it said 19 viewers. So that's more realistic. Look at the amount of views my latest videos get. So that's kind of gives you an idea. I am not making $250,000 a month, I can assure you. Not from LinkedIn. Mohammed Sakib says, what would you suggest for a person that had a career of more than 14 years and was looking for a new job? Mohammed, you are not alone. There are many, many people in that situation. Now, depending on your situation and depending on your goals, I don't even know what your industry is or any of your goals are, but the obvious thing would be to, you're looking for a new job. So you're not looking for a new career, you're looking for a new job. So obviously, you're going to be building on top of your previous work experience, right? If you can. Now, I don't know why you are looking for another job. Were you laid off? Is your industry experiencing like a sort of downturn? This kind of thing. Are you looking to change careers? You have multiple options before you. I can't really give you any helpful advice until I know at least what your goals are, what situation you're in, why you're unemployed, how long you've been unemployed, what level you're at. Like there's so many things I don't know. So it's very hard to give useful advice when you really don't know anything. But like the basics are learn, first of all, the discovery of jobs. Okay. You will see some things in the posted job market. That means if you look for job postings, you will be able to see some things. But know that the general rule is that all the job postings that you see in whatever industry, that's usually approximately 20% of all the jobs that are actually out there. The other 80% are hidden. That means they exist and you can get them, you could get them, but you won't discover them by doing like a search on the internet. Okay? Most jobs are not posted publicly because they don't need to be posted publicly. It is possible for the employer to fill that job without having to canvass the public far and wide and get strangers to apply. Right? Think of all the construction jobs where they need like as a very obvious textbook example. Think of like all the casual labor jobs, like, you know, for a construction site or a building site. Do they post all of those? No. They just say like, look, I'm a construction foreman. When I show up for work at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning at the construction site, I know that for that day I need 10 casual laborers today or 15 today or whatever. And I've got 20 people standing there that walked to the construction site on the off chance that I'm looking for casual labor, right? So, okay, the first 15, I'll take you for the day, right? Okay, you're hired, right? It pays this. You're good? Okay, right, let's go. Right? Something like that. Is that posted publicly? Of course not, right? That's an extreme example. But there's a lot of high-end jobs that don't get posted publicly either. So make sure you are looking in the hidden job market. Make sure you do research on how to tap the hidden job market, how to put yourself forward for those jobs. Like I said a moment ago, there's 3 basic ways, and that is networking, referrals, and direct outreach, okay? So learn about those things, okay? You can do it. I don't care if you're like the biggest introvert recluse the world has ever seen. You can do this. You can also do it via things like social networking, where you don't have to do a lot of the awkward sort of face-to-face personal interaction if that's an issue for you. Okay, so so that would be kind of the first step, the discovery of jobs. Then work on your interviewing skills. Polish up your resume. There's a lot of resources online on how to do your resume and how to interview, starting with my channel. And make sure that you understand that in this day and age, especially if you're targeting posted jobs, you really need to tailor your resume to every job you apply for. It didn't used to be like that, but that's kind of where we've been going. So for the people that are applying for posted jobs, your resume has to very closely match what they said they're looking for, using their lingo, right? So learn about all this stuff. There's so many resources you have to learn about all of this. It seems like a daunting task, but it's actually not rocket science. Just divide and conquer. There's discovery, there's resumes, there's interviewing, and I mean, technically there's like negotiating offers and stuff like that. Divide and conquer. Get your advice from a variety of sources. Don't just listen to me or anyone else. Get your advice from a variety of sources, and and you're going to knock it out of the park. So best of luck. Wonder says, "You're right, Bill." I like it when comments start like that. I got a good feeling. "You're right, Bill. I have just relocated to a new place. I'm going to an interview 3 days after the person I was talking to about job hunting mentioned that their organization is hiring." Okay, good. That sounds good. I hope that works out for you, Wonder, and thank you for saying such nice things. Oh, Mohammed says, looking for better challenging role in software development. Okay, so if you're in software development, here's my assumptions, my stereotype of you, okay? Without knowing you, here's the assumptions I'm making. You're probably pretty bright. You're probably an introvert. You're probably a technical type person. You're probably very, very organized and probably efficient at what you do. However, to play the stereotype, okay, you have a big blind spot. And the blind spot is understanding people and understanding how people relate to each other in something like an organization. So how organizations work, you probably don't have a very accurate worldview of the reality of how these organizations work, including what makes people want to hire one person over another for a job. Okay, you probably have a blind spot for that. Now, if your reaction to me right now is, no, I don't, here's what I have to say. Okay, I don't know you, so I could be totally wrong. Okay, but I'm just going off on a stereotype, I'm making assumptions. Is that even if you think you do know and you think you are good assessing this kind of stuff, I suspect you're not. And that is evidenced possibly by the fact that you are here asking me, how do I do this? Okay? Because if you've had a 14-year career in that industry and you still want a job in that industry, a lot of people wouldn't have to ask for help. They would know what's needed, right? But they would be the type of person that's more tuned in. They're more extrovert. They're more tuned in to interacting with others. They have more advanced social skills, more advanced communication skills. They're more emotional intelligence and all that kind of stuff. Just for the record, I'm a lot like you. Okay, I got a degree in engineering. I got electrical engineering, not computer engineering. I've never worked as a developer, but I've written code, and I'm a technical introvert, and that's how I started. And in my 20s, I was woefully ill-equipped to understand how organizations worked and how things happened in organizations and how to persuade someone. These are all alien concepts for me. So you need to bone up on that aspect of it. Learn how to be likable. Learn how to have a conversation with somebody where they enjoy talking to you. They're not talking to you because they have to. They're talking to you because they want to and they enjoy it and they want it to continue. Okay? Usually that means asking them questions about them. That's what they enjoy talking about. Not talking to them all about you, for example, right? So a lot of opportunities in organizations happen because of networking. Who gets hired? Usually the person that's the most connected, not the person that's the best for the job, not the person that's the smartest, not the person that's the most diligent or hardworking, the person that's the most connected, right? Now, everyone reacts to that and they say, oh, well, that's stupid. People are dumb. Yeah, you're right. But why is that? Why do smart people choose to hire the person that they know rather than a stranger that they don't, that could be more qualified? Why is that? Have you ever wondered why? Because someday you're probably going to be the boss. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you're going to be in charge. And you're going to do this too. And you're going to realize why people do it. It's because of trust, because they know who that person is. If you're meeting a stranger in a job interview, you have no idea who this person is. And on top of it, they're hoping to get something out of this exchange. So they will say anything to get it. There's money involved. They want this nice job. They want the money. And that means that they could say anything to get it. They will lie through their teeth, straight to your face about everything. Everything they've written on their resume could be a lie. You don't know, right? And they could have the gift of gab so that even when you ask them about their experiences, they've done their preparation and they can say a lot of fancy things that sound nice. You don't really know who that person is. The person who's the most networked that you've been hanging out with in the lunchroom for 3 years, you at least know who they are, right? Is that stupid? Of course. But it's the way the world works. It's the way humans behave. Now, let's say you don't accept that explanation. You think like, okay, well, that still is dumb and it shouldn't happen like that. let me ask you something else, okay? If you're an executive and one of your jobs is to make deals with other companies, so you sign a contract with a new supplier, you make an arrangement with a new supplier, you sign a new distribution deal with another institutional customer, okay? Who gets those types of things happening? Is it the introvert who's like a genius but hates interacting with people? Or is it the possibly not so smart person, the flaky extrovert that loves talking to people and is great at the gift of gab and is great at persuading people? They're the ones that usually get those deals put in place, because the introverts don't enjoy talking to people from other companies and discussing what possibilities of how they could work together. You know what I mean? So if ever you're wondering why extroverts, tend to be at the top and stuff, when you feel they really shouldn't be, because let's face it, they're flaky, they're annoying, they don't have a good work ethic, they don't understand how to just buckle down and get something done, and a lot of times they're unreliable, right? But why are they there? Why are they the most connected people that are given opportunities? It's because of that trust factor. So this all sounds very negative, right? Here's the good news. In order to do this, it really isn't very hard. It's not like these people are geniuses or anything, okay? They're really not, and I think you know it, right? But you can engage in some of this activity yourself and do it in such a way that isn't like pulling teeth. It's actually not that big of a deal, Just hanging out with somebody and asking them questions about what they do at their job, what they think, maybe their past, how did you get this job? How what was your career before you moved here? And then they say, oh, I did this and I did that. And you say, oh, well, why is that? How did you find that? Right? Now, maybe there's somebody above you, right? In which case you might be learning. You might be interested in getting answers for this, because this is how you learn, right? These people have done this stuff and you would like to be like them. So you can ask them questions about how they did it. And it might be fascinating to hear the answers, right? Okay, all you got to do is you got to go and hang out with these people and ask them about themselves and what they think and what they've done, elements of it that you might actually be interested in. So it isn't fake. It isn't like, ingratiating. It's like, I'm here because I'd like to be in your shoes and I'm just curious to learn how you did it, Or I don't work in this area, but I've always kind of wondered what you guys do over in that area. Tell me, what do you do? Stuff like that. You have this curious mind and you're open to learning. So if you have that, you can engage in some of this if you put in a little bit of effort, and you'd be surprised at how many doors it opens to you for you. So anyway, after this big long-winded rant and journey to nowhere, hopefully that gives you some ideas of activity you can do that will open doors for you, that will make you more connected, that will give you more of a respect for this activity for a start, and then for interacting with those types of people, and value more of what they do, even though in your eyes they're dumb, they're flaky, they're disorganized, they're unreliable, and that's off-putting. But now you can see what they actually do crush it at. Good grammar. And it can benefit you if you adopt some of these skills yourself. Anyway, I probably killed everything with that big unending stream of consciousness thing. I wish you all the luck in the world, Mohammed. Wonder says, in my senior years, yet not near retirement. Well, that's good. You're in your prime. You're in your prime, Wonder. You're wise and you've still got energy and vitality. You're not past it yet. You've got energy, you got wisdom, you got experience. You can crush it. I prefer part-time, but not many of these jobs are posted. How would you go about finding these? I'm so having to apply for full-time jobs. Well, networking, I'm a big fan of the whole outreach thing. Like I've said, what I would do is instead of seeing what's available, I would instead target the companies that you would like to work for and then go apply in person. Okay. Now, if they don't post a job, that's fine. You just walk in through the front door, talk to the receptionist, say, could I talk to the manager of this? Are they available? Chances are they'll say no, right? And then you say, that's fine. If I leave this here, like a resume or something, can you see that they get it? Is that okay? And 90% of the time they'll say, sure, yeah, no problem. And you say, okay, can I ask what's their name, right? Just so if I could follow up, right? And they'll probably tell you their name, or I can't give you their. In some rare occasions, they'll say I can't give you their name, but this is their role, right? So it's like, okay, so that's all you do, and then you follow up later. You say, hi, I'm John or whatever. I left something for you at the front counter, and I'm just wondering if yesterday, and I'm wondering if you had received it. I'd left my resume, and they might say, yes, I got that. And you say, okay, listen, I just wanted you to know if ever you're looking. I would love to come in and be able to work for you. I think what you guys do is absolutely fascinating. And if ever you have like a part-time role or something like that, where you're just looking for someone to do this or that, this particular thing or that particular thing, I would love the opportunity to do that. I think that you guys have some interesting things going for you. And if ever there was an opportunity, I would jump at it. That's all. Have yourself a great day. Something like that. I would employ that approach. And a lot of times it won't result into anything, but after, just like job interviews, so you go to quite a few and most of them don't work out, but you go through a bunch of duds to get to one that does, right? And that way they'll be impressed by your initiative, and they'll be impressed by your communication skills and how charismatic you are. And if they have something that they could use someone for, they'll probably take you up on it. But there you go. We've reached the end of the chat. So I'm probably going to wind this down. Hopefully that was helpful today. I felt like I did a lot of motor mouth kind of stuff, but hopefully you guys got something out of that. Special thanks to Wonder, to Mohammed, to Mehmet, to Goomy Worms, to Gerald, to Sam, Ray, everybody who participated. You guys are awesome. This process, it seems very depressing. It seems, sometimes insurmountable, just the amount of rejection and sometimes the confusion, those two together, rejection plus confusion as to how do you do this? Am I doing the right things? If you're feeling that, you're not alone. You're awesome. You're highly employable. We get the wrong impression from this process because it's very negative. But keep at it. Do all you can to learn. Mix it up. Don't just do one thing to look for jobs. Do a couple of different things, at least. A couple of different strategies. And pretty soon, you'll be amazed that something works out. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for being here. I will be back on Wednesday with another live stream. Until then, take care of yourselves. I will see you soon.